Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Carving It Up Live right here on Twitter, as well as the Carving It Up YouTube channel and the Grid Network's YouTube channel. As always, I am Bryson Carver, and I guess I got to address the elephant in the room right off the bat. The Boston Red Sox have won 6 straight games. Other than that, yes, I'm not in my studio, and yes, I am in the happiest place on earth, the most magical place on earth. I'm trying to figure out which. I know Magic Kingdom's next door. It's called the most magical place, and Disney World, Disneyland, what's technically the happiest place? I don't know. But I'm not in my usual studio. I am in Disney World. Very excited to be here. Going on a vacation with my fam. But lots to talk about in the show today. I'm going to get to Warriors-Lakers in just a second, and really a discussion later in the show with LeBron James, Steph Curry. Like, you know, who's better and all this. Like, if Steph goes on to win this series, it'd be 4 times he's beaten LeBron out of 5 matchups. If he wins a championship, that'd be 5 rings to LeBron's 4. And the great Stephen A. Smith, who I have all the respect in the world for, was talking about, hey, Steph Curry, we may have to start a conversation of moving LeBron James off the Mount Rushmore and putting Steph Curry in it. Yeah, that's a stretch, and that's basketball lunacy. I will get to that later in the show, as well as Coach Mike Budenholzer getting fired by the Milwaukee Bucks. I did the show yesterday at noon, and the news broke probably 4 or 5 hours after, so I was able to react to it yesterday. I'll react to it in today's show. I think it's the right move by Milwaukee. I think this is now a crucial offseason for the Bucks, and not just in the coaching department. I'll get to that later on today's show. But I want to start with Game 2 last night. Warriors-Lakers. Warriors won convincingly, 127-100. This was a game that Golden State absolutely had to win. You cannot go down 2-0 in a best-of-7 series, lose both games at home. Otherwise, you're pretty much cooked. Your season's over. As for the Lakers, they came to Golden State and accomplished what they were supposed to, and that's split one of the 2 road games, steal home court advantage, and we'll see how games 3 and 4 play out in LA. But for Golden State, obviously Klay Thompson was the man of the hour. 30 points on the night. A very, very efficient 30. 11 for 18 for the field. 8 for 11 from three-point range was outstanding. Steph Curry with 20 and 12, which is his career high in assists in a playoff game with 12. Draymond Green, a near triple-double, 11, 11, and 9. Only 1 assist away from the triple-double. JaMychal Green. I want to give a lot of credit in the world to JaMychal Green. He steps in for Kevon Looney. Kevon Looney is sick. Steve Kerr talked about it before the game. He's dealing with some kind of non-disclosed illness was the word out of Golden State. And here comes JaMychal Green, who's barely played all postseason, and he gives you 15 on 6 for 9 shooting. And I'll get to the JaMychal Green aspect of it in just a second, but he played well. Andrew Wiggins was fine. I still feel like he could be better. Only 11 points on 3 for 8 from the field, but decent defense. And Golden State got good production for the bench, particularly from Moses Moody and Dante DiVincenzo, who, while inefficient, made some big-time hustle plays. But there were 2 things for Golden State that really stuck out to me in terms of adjustments made by Steve Kerr. The first one, you notice throughout Game 1, and I'm not sure that this was not by design, because it wasn't the case against the Sacramento Kings in Game 7 of that series. Now, we could say Sacramento, it's a very different team from the Lakers, different strengths, different weaknesses, different coach, different stars. We understand that. But your philosophy doesn't have to change all that much, given the series to series, which teams you're going up against. But if you noticed in Game 1, part of the reason Steph Curry couldn't really get a rhythm, part of the reason Golden State would kind of go on these minute and a half, 2-minute just offensive lulls, where there'd be turnovers or they wouldn't get good shots, or credit to the Lakers, who are the best defense in the NBA, they'd be able to get stops. It's because Steph Curry was playing off the ball. Now we know Steph Curry can be really dangerous on the or off the ball as he is on the ball. But he's bringing up the court. He's making all the decisions. Darvin Ham sticking with the strategy they use against the Memphis Grizzlies, which works when you consider he's facing a John Morant who's not a shooter, who's a threat to attack you at the basket. Yeah, Steph can drive. He's an excellent finisher. But I don't know if nobody told Darvin Ham before this, but Steph Curry just so happens to be the greatest shooter ever played this game. I think his buddy Klay Thompson is, at worst case, the 3rd greatest shooter to ever play the game. You could slide in Reggie Miller, Ray Allen, whoever you choose. But Steph Curry plays on the ball, makes all the decisions. Whether it's him scoring against, Steph only took 12 shots. Now, he was 7 for 12 for the field, 3 for 5 from 3, so typical 50, 40, 90, efficient Steph, doing what he's got to do in that department, but getting others involved. He had 8 assists in the first half, 12 for the game. Part of the reason Klay got some good looks. Part of the reason that Dante DiVincenzo got some good looks from Steph Curry and was able to cash in a couple of those. It's about whether or not the Lakers are willing to change their strategy, where it's as opposed to, hey, Steph is going to get his because he's a great player. Let's make sure everybody else doesn't get going. Darvin Ham is basically saying, let's dare everybody else to beat us. But I mean, that's essentially what he's doing by double teaming Steph Curry. The Lakers double teaming Steph Curry, rather. And the second thing that really from the jump, from opening tip, stuck out to me immediately by Golden State, and something that worked for them when they went on that 14-0 run at the end of game 1. If the Lakers missed a shot, whether it was Draymond Green, Andrew Wiggins, Steph Curry, they grabbed that ball off the rim and off to the races, pushing it in transition. And it makes all the sense in the world. We know, again, as I mentioned, the Lakers are the best defensive team in the NBA. I don't want to say it's by a crazy margin, but it's by a comfortable margin. They got plenty of guys with length. Jared Vanderbilt. Obviously, LeBron is not the defender he used to be, but still is more than serviceable in that department. AD is I don't want to sound sacrilegious here, but darn near Dikembe Mutombo at the rim, certainly in these playoffs. You consider the likes of Dennis Schroeder, who's a tremendous defender. Rui Hachimura, who can defend. And a lot of these guys the Lakers brought in at the trade deadline completely changed their identity as a basketball team. It's a big reason they turned their season around. It's about pushing the ball up the floor, not letting, again, the best defense in basketball get set. You have the smaller but quicker athletes and get easy shots to the rim, or maybe kick it out to a Klay Thompson who got some threes in transition, or to a Steph Curry who hit a ridiculous three in transition off a Dante DiVincenzo offensive rebound. And offensive rebounds, as we know in basketball, are almost as hard to defend, or shots off an offensive rebound are almost as hard to defend as fast breaks. Because the shot goes in the air, everybody's ready to get out and run their offense, and all of a sudden you got a Dante DiVincenzo, you've got a JaMychal Green, you got a Draymond Green grabbing the rebound and kicking it to an open shooter. And in that building, with that crowd, probably not going to miss. So the two adjustments by Steve Kerr, pushing in transition and playing Steph Curry on the ball when he was on the floor. Now, if I'm the Lakers, I don't want to be too discouraged. Anthony Davis was bad. I told you that yesterday coming into the game. I called him Coin Flip Davis for a reason. As a matter of fact, I saw a stat today. It's unbelievable how inconsistent this guy is on a game-to-game basis. Do I have it here? Okay. So this is AD's game-to-game scoring in the playoffs to this point. Let me make sure I'm getting this right. Okay. 22, 13, 31, 12, 31, 16, 30, 11. Only one 20-point game in here. One. 3 30-point games. But also 4 games in the teens. Now, to AD's credit, he is still as effective a player as there is in the NBA in terms of blocking shots at the rim. And against a team like Golden State, who doesn't exactly bring size to the table, that could be a problem. I mean, Steph Curry is a great finisher at the rim. He's not good enough to finish over AD. Like, he's going to have to, put his little spin on the basketball, little English off the glass. You know how it goes with Steph and with all the great guard finishers in this league. Same with Klay Thompson and Jordan Poole, who, by the way, was I knew not to get my hopes up Jordan Poole. After game 1, after he played well, Jordan Poole, 3 for 6 from the field for 6 points, over 2 from 3-point range. I guess that's what we've come to expect from Mr. Poole. But all in all, if you're the Lakers, this is what you get from AD. He's awesome one game. He's a liability the next. That's who he is. Like, every time I hear about, is Anthony Davis a top 5? I don't think he's a top 10 player. Why? Because at his best, he's absolutely a top 5 player. At his worst, guy, he's hard to watch. I mean, Draymond Green, Kevon Looney, in the minutes he played, sick as a dog, are giving Anthony Davis the business in terms of rebounding the basketball. And so that's to be expected by the Lakers. That's not something I'd be concerned about. Again, as I always say, there's this saying about tails never fails. I don't believe in that. Anytime I choose tails, it almost always fails. I almost always lose. So I go with heads. Maybe that's just me. But you flip the coin, it landed on heads for game 1. And I told you on Thursday, flip it again, that sucker's landed on tails. Game 3, my guess is AD's really good. In front of the LA crowd, Lakers don't want to lose their second straight game because A, you're now down in the series. B, you lose home court advantage, and C, that's 2 straight playoff losses, and you don't want that to happen if you're Los Angeles. And the second thing for the Lakers that I would be extremely concerned about, because this is their reality. Part of the reason I had this series going 7 games is because both teams presented different matchups that would give the other major problems. For the Lakers, they presented all types of issues for Golden State in terms of size and length. It's what made them the best defensive team in the league this year. We talk about the Lakers are always a great three-point shooting team, only at 6 threes in game 1. Well, when you're banging down low with Anthony Davis, with LeBron James, with Rui Hachimura, with D'Angelo Russell getting shots at the rim, you're going to get to the line. You're going to wear down the defense a little bit. And eventually, when the defense crashes in, when somebody comes on help, somebody's going to be open in the corner for 3, whether it be Austin Reeves, again, D'Angelo Russell, Hachimura, any of these guys. Vanderbilt, who hit a corner 3. That's a problem for Golden State. But on the other hand, the problem that Golden State presents the Lakers is obviously shooting. That goes without saying. But also, as I mentioned, getting out in transition, fast break points, up and down the floor. Here we go. Not letting the best defensive league get set. And the Lakers all season long, even after the trades, haven't been that good of a transition defense. And so exposing that. Not to mention, you got the best player in the series, Steph Curry. The second best, I don't care what anybody says, is still LeBron James, because I don't know what I'm getting from Anthony Davis from game to game. I pretty much know what I'm getting from LeBron, who was awesome in the first half, really cooled off in the second half. We know the sniper that Klay Thompson is, the difference maker Draymond Green is. Obviously, again, Anthony Davis, who, even in his bad offensive games, is still a monster protecting the rim. And the really good role players that both teams have. To me, the series would be decided by coaching. Steve Kerr in game 1. We talked about the adjustments he made where Kevon Looney, good as he was, 20-plus rebounds again. Again, we're going to have to start calling him Kevon Rodman. That's because that's who he is. He's been unbelievable. But on the other hand, he was getting worked by AD. He's a non-shooter. He's not somebody who can push and transition the way a guy who is playing great in game 1, Jordan Poole, can. Golden State's down 14. Kerr goes with Poole with the 4 of Curry, Thompson, Wiggins, and Green. Golden State goes on a 14-0 run, and they almost come back to win it. And Darvin Ham, in that run, if you remember, did not use a timeout. When the building's going crazy, the roof's about to come off, Steph's getting hot, and Poole's hitting shots, and never called a timeout. And it almost cost the Lakers. In-game adjustments, Steve Kerr by a mile. And then in-between game adjustments in a series, which are critical, it's Steve Kerr again by a mile. Now, you can make the argument. I was talking to Barry Grant Jr., the host of the All Even podcast, and the co-founder of The Grid. I was talking to him last night or today, I can't remember, about the game. He's a Lakers fan, and he said maybe Darvin Ham is sort of experimenting with some lineups, putting in something in place to try and talk about double teaming Steph Curry, seeing how that works, because this is not a game the Lakers had to win. Like, this isn't, oh my God, the Lakers season's over. No, they came to Golden State and accomplished what they wanted to accomplish, and that's getting a split on the road and stealing home court advantage. Now it's up to them to take care of home court. That's what it comes down to for them. But it's the adjustments by Darvin Ham that's going to be, in my view, play a big part in the Lakers getting beat in this series. I'm still rolling with the Warriors in 7. I think this is a very exciting series. Game 1 was a thriller. Game 2 was, I said Golden State by 10. I sort of underestimated them in that regard. But this is going to be a knockout, drag-out series. My guess is the Lakers probably win Game 3 tomorrow. Again, my prediction was, and I'm 2-0 thus far, Lakers win Game 1, Warriors 2, Lakers 3, Warriors 4 and 5, Lakers 6, Warriors win the series in the 7th and final and decisive game. That's why I think it's going to happen at the end of the day. But it's going to be an exciting series, down to the wire. Cannot wait for it. So yeah, like I said, beautiful Walt Disney World. Very much been looking forward to this trip for a while, because I'll tell you what, and you guys would know this because I've been, schedules can be weird sometimes during certainly the NFL season, and at times during the NBA playoffs due to college and everything. So very excited to really pour into this show, to pour into hopefully some great content for you all watching or listening. And yeah, it's going to be fun. So talking about a team that got eliminated, shockingly in many people's eyes, the Milwaukee Bucks, who fired Mike Budenholzer yesterday. Again, I did my show yesterday at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific, And so I wasn't able to react to the Budenholzer firing, but the Bucks moved on and will be in search for a new head coach. Now, if you'd have told a Bucks fan coming into this season, hey, you're of the 1 seed, you're going to go 58-24, have the best record in the NBA. Giannis is once again going to be in the MVP discussion. You're going to be a good enough team to be very successful without him. And you're going to get gentlemen swept in round 1 and fire your coach. That is not exactly an ideal ending for a team that was the NBA champions just 2 years ago and had another great season last year. But it was the right move. And I want to preface everything I'm going to say about Coach Budenholzer with this, because I haven't gotten a chance to really address this on my show. All of my thoughts and prayers go to Coach Bud, his family. The report came out after the Heat series that in between games 3 and 4 that Mike Budenholzer's brother was killed in a car accident. Just horrible, heartbreaking, devastating news. How Coach Bud was even able to coach the rest of the series is it's a credit to his mental toughness. It's a credit to obviously support system around him. So just wish him and his family nothing but the very best. None of what I'm about to say about him, about the Bucks, about anybody is personal in any way. It never is. Like I said, when it comes to sports, I'm critical of people. Unless you're just unless it's like an Antonio Brown or something, I try to keep things on the field because ultimately we all screw up, we all make mistakes, and we all have things going on in our personal lives. And certainly Coach Bud certainly did in his. But the Bucks had to move on. Even going back to 2 years ago when the Bucks won the championship. When Giannis, remember the 50-point game in Game 6 to close out the series against Phoenix, had, in my view, one of the 5 greatest individual performances in a finals I've ever seen. Maybe in the history of the NBA. I mean, what did he average? Like 35, 14, and 5 with how many blocks? It was unbelievable. Took over the series, particularly in Game 3 on to Game 6 when the Bucks were down 2-0, won 4 straight. But even in that playoff run, I said they won in spite of Coach Bud. Giannis, we all know the physical force that he is on both ends of the floor. He was a defensive player of the year just 2.5 years ago. Chris Middleton, while incredibly inconsistent, is a former All-Star. Is good in the mid-range at getting his own shot and is serviceable in the defensive end. Drew Holiday, in my view, is the best defensive guard in the NBA, or I should say not just defensive guard, two-way guard, no questions asked. You talk about taking the best wing player in the other team and be able to give you 20 to 25 points. That's a pretty good basketball player. And the Bucks bench with Bucks role players, rather, Brook Lopez, Bobby Portis, Grayson Allen, who none of us may like personally because of his dirty history, but is still very good. Joe Ingles. Have plenty of talent this year and in the past few years. And it was by the absolute skin of their teeth. Remember Game 7 against the Brooklyn Nets? They lead by 2. Kevin Durant's got the ball. The man cannot miss a shot. He catches the inbound, turns around, the typical KD fadeaway shot, swishes it, and we're thinking, oh my God, the Nets just won the series on a walk-off KD shot. And then we see the replay and like, oh my goodness, his toe was on the line. If his toe is just an inch back as a three-pointer, and the Nets win Game 7 by a point. But it went to overtime. Credit to the Bucks. They pretty much shut KD down, and they won the game. Chris Middleton hit a game-winning shot. I'm pretty sure it was Middleton. But throughout that series, Kyrie Irving goes down in Game 4. Doesn't play again. James Harden, seconds into Game 1, pulls his hamstring and is hampered from Game 5 on. One dude can beat you, and that's Kevin Durant. 40-plus in Game 5 and darn near 50 in Game 7, including what would have been the walk-off shot. Had his toe been just an inch behind the three-point line. One dude can beat you. You don't double him. You don't throw maybe his own defense at him. No, you just play him straight up. Let the most gifted scorers ever played the game, in my view at least, just go get his. You know how dangerous of a risk that is? And even in Game 1 of the next series against Atlanta, Eastern Conference Finals, Trae Young went for, 45? Again, one dude can beat you. It's not Bogdanovich. It's not John Collins. It's not Clint Capella. It's Trae Young. And the Bucks actually went down 2-1 in that series. Giannis went down with an injury, but if it were not for Trae Young hurting his ankle at the end of that Game 3, Man, Bucks could have been some serious trouble. We might be talking about maybe one of the worst finals matchups we've ever seen with Phoenix and Atlanta in the finals. Nobody wants to see that outside of those two cities. And even last year, think about the playoffs a year ago. Middleton's gone from Milwaukee. Got hurt in game 2 of the first round against Chicago. Bucks won that series easily. They're significantly better than Chicago. But round 2 against Boston, how many games were they in a position? I remember game 4, they lead 2-1 on the road. Not on the road. They're at home, up double digits. Chance to go up 3-1. Al Horford's got it going. They do not change their defense. One guy is killing you, and you don't make one single adjustment. Mike Budenholzer in his career has kind of been the anti-Steve Kerr in terms of adjustments. And again, the guy Steve Kerr is coaching against for the Lakers, Darvin Ham, you want to take a wild guess as to where he used to be an assistant coach with the last couple of years? You guessed it, Milwaukee Bucks. It's kind of a history of doing this. One guy can beat you in game 6. Again, you're at home, up 3-2. And Jason Tatum goes for 46. Celtics win game 6 and blow you out in game 7, and your season is over. Again, this year, see a common theme? One guy can beat you. It's not Gabe Vincent. It's not, up until he unfortunately got hurt, Victor Oladipo. It's not Kyle Lowry. It's not Bam Adebayo. It's not even Tyler Hero because he got hurt in game 1. It's Jimmy Buckets, playoff Jimmy Butler. And in Jimmy Butler in games, make sure I'm getting this right, in games 4 and 5 for Miami. In game 4, the man went for 56, which is a Heat playoff record. Didn't get a ton of help outside of that. You know, Bam Adebayo gave you 15, Gabe Vincent gave you 10, and Caleb Martin gave you 12. I mean, no Miami player even got into the 20s, and Jimmy Butler gave you a Heat playoff record, 56 points. Now, you'd think he would have learned his lesson by game 5. Seasons of a line, you're at home. Jimmy Buckets just cooked you. And in game 5, he goes for 42, hits the game-tying shot to go to overtime, and the Heat win it overtime and gentlemen sweep the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, I remember saying after game 5, when that series was over, I talked about it whenever this was I guess it was last week when the Bucks got eliminated. Bud deserves the majority of the blame. Giannis has to take at least a little bit of it. I understand he was injured, and we get that. He had back issues in game 1, missed the next 2 games after that. Cool. But in game 4, double-digit lead going into the fourth quarter, and Giannis disappears. I think he only had like 3 points in the fourth quarter. In game 5, only 9 points in the fourth quarter and overtime, and ran from the basketball. Ran from it. Why is that? Didn't want to shoot free throws. Why is that? Because he was, what was he? Let me make sure I'm getting, I think he was 10 for 27 for the free throw line. Giannis Antetokounmpo was, I'm sorry, that was I too harsh on him. 10 for 23 from the free throw line, but still horrible. Giannis deserves blame. Everybody deserves blame. You're the 1 seed and you go out in round 1 in a gentleman's sweep? It's never happened before. Can't get rid of Giannis because you'd be an idiot too, obviously. But it's about building around his strengths, and Coach Bud really didn't do that. So it's going to be a fascinating season for the Milwaukee Bucks, or off-season rather, for the Milwaukee Bucks, because they're in a position where they have, in my view, at this point, the second or third best player in the league, Drew Holiday, who's an all-star, Chris Middleton, who's a former all-star, and some really good role players. In a conference that has, if we're being honest, 2-3 other contenders. Miami, Philadelphia, Boston, who just so happen to be playing game 3. Boston's up 5. That's it. Now, you think Cleveland's going to beat Milwaukee? With all due respect to the Knicks, who are having a great year, the Knicks would not have beaten Milwaukee had the Bucks advanced. I mean, we're not taking these teams. Atlanta, come on. We're not taking any of these teams awful seriously. Conference is wide open. Deep roster. Great player. A change had to be made. So I'm going to be curious. I know Nick Nurse has been floated, who just got fired by the Toronto Raptors. Here's a fun fact, or not so fun for these coaches, but since, let me make sure I'm getting this right, 2000, 19. So since the 2019 finals, every coach that has led his team to win an NBA championship since 2019, outside of Steve Kerr, has been fired. Nick Nurse led the Raptors to a championship in 2019. He is no longer the Raptors head coach. Frank Vogel helped the Lakers win in 2020 as their head coach. He's no longer there. Mike Budenholzer, no longer there in Milwaukee after helping them win in 2021. It's a wild trend, but apparently winning the championship doesn't give you a whole lot of job security, which is wild. But Nick Nurse has been floated as a potential Milwaukee Bucks head coach. I like Nurse. I think he's better at making adjustments than Budenholzer is, but there are still some questions there. But I do think he'd be an upgrade. Again, I will beat the dead horse until I feel like I don't need to anymore. Can Mark Jackson get a job? Please. This guy took over the Golden State Warriors in 2011, an organization that had been to the playoffs one time in 20 years. Once. And he developed the greatest shooting backcourt ever, one of the greatest role players ever, Draymond Green, and the collection of young talent that they had in Golden State. Now, was Steve Kerr an upgrade over Mark Jackson in 2014? Of course he was. He fit what they were building there better than Mark Jackson did. But you're telling me that there are 30 coaches in the NBA that are better than Mark Jackson? I mean, Steve Clifford, who keeps getting opportunity after opportunity. Dwayne Casey keeps getting opportunity after opportunity. Some of those guys, you take them over Mark Jackson, who took over a nothing burger in Golden State and helped them get to the playoffs twice and won a playoff series? I mean, it's a thought. I mean, could it hurt Milwaukee to at least test the waters in the Mark Jackson department? Just a thought. I think he'd make him a lot better on both ends of the floor, because Mark Jackson's a great defensive coach, and Milwaukee folded defensively, especially in games 3 and 4, where they really just blew the series against Miami. It's a thought. Final topic of the day, though. Again, like I said, very odd time for the show today. Like I said, just getting here in Florida and trying to get everything set up, and we just had a fantastic dinner. But wanted to do the show today. A lot of NBA playoffs going on. Like I said, Boston and Philadelphia is at the half. Celtics with a 57-50 lead as I'm sitting here live right now. So we'll see that game continues to progress. Listen, I've been able to watch it a ton. See, so okay, Tatum with 13, but inefficiently. Boston's got 3 other guys in double figure scoring, and Al Horford's pretty close with 8. Embiid with the better first half than he did in game 2 with 14. So, and we'll see what kind of help he can get. Harden with a rough first half, 1 for 7. So we'll see if the role players in Philadelphia can step up. But last topic, back to the Warriors and Lakers series, which is obviously by far the most anticipated. In part because the history due to the Lakers' best player. Still, in my view, you could say it's Anthony Davis, who's got the higher ceiling than LeBron at this point. But in terms of a consistent game-to-game basis, I know what I'm getting for LeBron James. You're getting 25. You're getting 7 to 8 assists. You're getting good defense late in games. I mean, folks, the man just had a 2020 game just a few games ago against Memphis. 2020 hasn't been done since Shaquille O'Neal in a Lakers uniform. Just, LeBron is still pretty good. I don't know if that's breaking news. But the headliner, it's LeBron versus Steph. It's LeBron versus the Warriors. It's Lakers Warriors who haven't faced the playoffs in 3 decades. It's very exciting. It's the headline of the second round of the playoffs. And I think it's inarguable that Steph and LeBron is the greatest player rivalry since Magic and Bird, who I put Magic and Bird a notch above Steph and LeBron because, A, it was more tug of war back and forth between them in terms of winning, which I'll get to in just a second. But also, Magic and Bird literally saved the NBA. I mean, the finals were on tape delay, folks. Couldn't watch that stuff live. They saved the league. But this is kind of our version of Magic and Bird, and everybody's anticipating it. But, I don't do false narratives well. Especially false narratives surrounding a guy who I believe is the greatest player of LeBron James and his worst case number 2 behind Michael Jordan. This and the great Stephen A. Smith, who I have all the respect in the world for, is one of the greatest in the history of this business. But he said that if Golden State beats LA in this series and Steph Curry goes on to lead the Warriors to a 5th title in 9 years and a 2nd straight title, then we may have to kick LeBron James. You're hearing me right. LeBron James out of the Mount Rushmore basketball and insert Steph Curry. This, my friends, is basketball lunacy. And there are no two ways around it. I am the biggest Steph Curry fan of the world. I don't know if that's obvious by this point to longtime listeners of the show. I am a lifelong Warriors fan. Steph Curry is my favorite player. I believe he's unequivocally, undoubtedly the best player in the world. He's not LeBron James. I'm talking about in terms of their career, in terms of just as a player. He's not LeBron James. That's ridiculous. Okay, so Steph has more championships than LeBron. You know who else has more championships? Kobe, Kareem, Magic. Shaq has as many championships as LeBron James does. Tim Duncan has more championships. Michael Jordan famously has more championships. Doesn't make them all better. If you want to say Michael, okay, you're entitled to your own opinion. To me, that's the only guy who can make a reasonable argument is better than LeBron James, had a better career than LeBron James. It's not Kareem, who needed Magic. It's not Magic, who needed Kareem. It's not Duncan, who was kind of a shell of himself towards the end of his career. LeBron's still out here in year 20, averaging freaking 28 a game. And not to mention, because people talking about, the rings. So Steph had more than LeBron. And Steph would have a finals record at that point of 5-2 in the finals to LeBron's 4-6. And this is maybe we need to do a segment on Carving It Up Live moving forward. Maybe I just had a light bulb here. Maybe we should do a segment moving forward called Carving Up Context. Maybe we should do that, because to base it off of just rings and just record is completely ignoring context. First of all, let's just do some simple math. Steph Curry has made the finals 6 times. LeBron James has made the finals 10 times. 10! Only Bill Russell has 2 more than LeBron. I think Sam Jones as well made it to the finals 11 times, if I'm not mistaken, way back in the day with the Boston Celtics. And LeBron has taken some garbage Cleveland teams to the finals. Think about 2007. Think about 2018. In 2015, that wasn't a garbage Cavs team, but it was when Kevin Love went down the first round. It was when Kyrie Irving went down in game 1 of the finals, and LeBron's second best player was Matthew Dellavedova, who literally, and I'm not joking, almost died guarding Steph Curry. He went to the hospital. He was on IV. That's what he was trying to, that's what LeBron was out there dealing with. Timofey Mozgov and Tristan Thompson, J.R. Smith. This is what LeBron's carrying to the NBA Finals. The most impressed I've ever been with Steph in terms of just flat out putting a team on his back and carrying them to as far as they could go was 2 years ago. Klay Thompson's gone. Kevin Durant had long been gone. The bench was bad, and about all he had was 75% of Draymond Green and an Andrew Wiggins who wasn't quite comfortable in Golden State yet. And the Warriors were this close to making the playoffs. Like, that was not a good basketball team. I remember a stat, they were the 7th worst offense in NBA history when Steph was off the floor that season. They didn't even make the playoffs. Is that a knock on Steph? No. But the fact LeBron is taking similar teams to the freaking finals, there's levels to this. Like, I don't see a scenario in which we talk about Steph Curry potentially having an argument to be the greatest player of all time. To me, the absolute highest he can go is 4. If you want to know my top 10 players all time is from 1 to 10, it's LeBron, Michael, Kareem, Kobe, Magic, Steph, Duncan, Bird, and then I go Shaq, Russell. The highest to me Steph Curry can get is 4, passing Kobe Bryant. I think with a championship this year, he passes Magic Johnson and moves into the top 5. When you consider his resume, impact on the game, longevity, he has to pass Magic. There's no world where he can pass LeBron James. Other than shooting the basketball. Please tell me what Steph does better than LeBron. LeBron's the better scorer, passer, rebounder, defensive player, as high of an IQ as Steph has, higher IQ, basketball IQ rather. I mean, and it's not a knock on Steph, but Steph has had his greatest success with one coach. Doesn't matter who LeBron's coach is. The man took, and I don't want to be too hard on him because I know he's had some health problems recent years, so I'm not going to be brutal on him. He took David Blatt to the NBA Finals. He's taken Mike Brown to the finals. Ty Lue. Now, Eric Spoelstra, Spo's a great coach. Like, we're gonna leave that aside. He took Frank Vogel to the finals. He's won with 3 different organizations, 2 of them being total train wrecks of an organization before he got there, Cleveland and LA. And we're just going to sit up here and act like, oh, the gap is kind of close between him and Steph. I'm the biggest Steph Curry fan on earth, and it's not even close between those two. LeBron James has been an all-star 19 times. Steph Curry's been an all-star 9 times. LeBron has been first-team All-NBA. Has been on the All-NBA team 17 times, going on 18 this year. Steph Curry, if I'm not mistaken, I want to make sure I'm getting this right here. I think it's 5, maybe 6. This will be 8 to LeBron's 17. LeBron also happens to be, I don't know if y'all checked the news just about 3 months ago, he scored more points than any player in the history of the game. Steph, if you look where Steph is in the all-time scoring list, he's never going to come within the same galaxy as that. The gap is massive, and I love Steph. But in which of those series, you can maybe make a case for 2018. You could, because I thought Steph should have been the finals MVP over KD that year. KD deserved it in 2017. I thought Steph should have won in 18. That's neither here nor there. Please tell me which of the 4 finals matchups, 15 through 18, in which Steph Curry was better than LeBron James throughout the course of the series. It doesn't exist. I mean, 2015, LeBron averaged something like 34, 14, and 9. With Steph Curry's second best player on the team was either Klay Thompson or Draymond Green, both of which surefire Hall of Famers. LeBron's second best player was Matthew Dellavedova. His third best player was Timofey Mozgov. It's not even a contest. I love Steph. But in a losing effort in 2015, in which I also thought Steph should have gotten finals MVP over Andre Iguodala, LeBron, in a losing effort, almost won finals MVP. He was that great. I love Stephen A. And I love Steph Curry. This is a stupid basketball discussion. We can have discussions about certain things. We can have arguments about certain things in sports. Who's better? Who's going to play better in this series, Steph or LeBron? Right now, it's been Steph, and I think it's going to continue to be the case because I think today he is a better basketball player than LeBron James. But all time in the history of the game, guys, let's not go haywire here. Let's not. I may be in Disney World, but not everything is possible in terms of that. Let's just, before we get into arguments, let's just appreciate what we're watching. We're watching, in my view, the greatest player ever and the 6th greatest player ever face for the 5th time in the playoffs. And given their history, given the team's history, LeBron's Cavs and Steph's Warriors and all those finals, 2 teams meeting 4 straight times in the championship round, that's never happened in the history of North American sports. Enjoy that. I hope we enjoyed that then. I certainly did. Outside of 2016, that was still haunted by that series. And now, let's take this in. Let's enjoy it. I think we're in for a 7-game series. But it's not a discussion. All right, that is all the time we have for today's show. Appreciate everybody stopping by. Again, a little bit of an unconventional show in terms of the time, in terms of certainly the location, but definitely wanted to get on here, talk NBA playoff basketball. There's all kinds of big game 3s. Again, I got Phoenix winning tonight, but I think the Nuggets about to gentleman sweep those guys, as I talked about on yesterday's show. A very exciting game 3s, Warriors-Lakers tomorrow night. I'm actually going to take the Lakers to win at home, go up 2-1, but I believe the Warriors will respond in game 4 on Monday. But it's going to be very, very exciting. But like I said, that's all the time for today's show. Appreciate everybody stopping by at a very unconventional time. Be sure to catch Carving It Up Live, hopefully on Monday. Again, we don't have a time for that quite yet. I will get to y'all as soon as possible when we know when I'll be doing the show. Definitely looking forward to that. So some Lakers Warriors Game 3 talk and reactions to the other Game 3s. And be sure to like, share, comment, and take 2 seconds out of your day. Hit that big red subscribe button as it helps the channel grow exponentially. And be sure to go subscribe to the Grid Network. That is GRYD, the Grid Podcast Network on YouTube, where you can find my show as well as the shows from some other awesome content creators on the network. And that's where you can also listen to all of our shows on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, any and everywhere you get your podcasts, any and every time you want to listen to us on said podcasting platforms. It's there on the Grid. Very, very exciting. Okay. Have a great weekend, everybody. Please continue to stay safe out there. Please be sure to take care of your physical as well as your mental health, and be sure to do whatever you can. Call your local state senators and representatives and demand change for the horrible problem we have in this country called gun violence. God bless you all. Peace out. Man, if we win Game 3, Lakers are screwed. Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube. Be sure to click that big red subscribe button and go check out the other clips and full shows of Carving It Up Live. Have a blessed day.